mentally been very difficult because I was isolated for those full 14 days without any form of contact. The only thing that was on my mind was like, holy crap, what's gonna happen now?
Since COVID, my lungs have been not so strong as they used to be. So my lungs hurt right now. They hurt like rocks. I thought I was a goner. I was holding onto the towel in the bathroom saying, Lord, this is it. I'm coming. You better be ready.
I was like tired, like beyond tired. Like I already know I was pregnant. I knew I was tired, but this was like another level kind of tired. I was starting to get worse and worse. And so they're like, oh, like come in and get tested. If it weren't for Alex that forced me to get up, I would have just laid there for days.
Through my journey of overcoming COVID-19, I made it public to the world, not knowing how it was going to be received. I got an overwhelming amount of calls and text messages, social media DMs, encouraging and telling me their own story battling COVID-19. Today I want to share the story of a few people, one working in healthcare and having to face reality of rotating beds, another testing positive for COVID while she was pregnant, and another clinching for their life, not knowing if they were going to live to see another day. I myself am under quarantine, so there was no time for studios, there was no time for lights. These individuals took time out of their day to share their story. If you find value in this video, why don't you subscribe, hit the like button, and let me know your own COVID-19 journey. Maybe you didn't catch COVID and it was a family member. I would love to read your experience. Enjoy.
Hey, I have the privilege to sitting down with this legend, Mr. Danny. I don't want to butcher your last name. Lucero.
Yeah.
Lucero. I don't, you go to Starbucks and you hear it all the time, right? It's Lucero. Before we start anything, man, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, my name is Dennis Lucero. There you go. I'm 32. I'm currently a nursing assistant at a geriatric rehab center. About a few months ago, around the beginning of April, first week of April, I tested positive for COVID-19, was isolated for a full 14 days inside of my room. And not only have I experienced it physically myself, but as a nursing assistant, I have actually seen what a person goes through physically and mentally when it comes down to having COVID-19, because I work with geriatric patients. After this whole COVID-19 thing, I started realizing myself that physically I wasn't as healthy as I figured I was. I mean, mentally it's been very difficult because I was isolated for those full 14 days without any form of contact.
Okay. So what did that look like for you? What symptoms would you say were the worst that you experienced?
I had very, very horrible sinus headaches. The headaches were really big, and also the body weakness, fever about 103, 104. It's like continuously having to take Tylenol was so freaking difficult because I'm not used to being on medication all the time. And I was taking Tylenol every single day just to keep the fever under control. The only thing that was on my mind was like, holy crap, what next? I mean, your mind kind of starts rushing and thinking, okay, why and how is this going to happen now? It's like, what is the next step? It's like, is my body going to be able to control it? Am I going to be rushed to the hospital? What's going to happen now? I mean, that was the only thing that was on my mind. I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. And to make matters worse, it was the weekend of my birthday, so it made it even worse. Mentally, it was draining. It's the fact that I work with patients who are possibly infected with COVID, because our facility has actually instituted a COVID protocol where even if one of our patients is feeling some kind of symptom, even a minor symptom, we're required to isolate them. And my biggest problem has been that the fact that I've been kind of in a way ostracized from certain events because of the fact that it's like I work with these people.
Yes.
It's like I work with patients who might or might not have COVID. We have protocols for everything, including what PPEs are required for what kind of patient. And each floor is basically divided into whether or not they have COVID, possibly have COVID, or they are clear from COVID. The thing is, it's like a lot of people don't consider how much work goes into actually being a CNA as well. It's like you are not just there like helping these people physically. You're also going in there and helping them out mentally, because a lot of these people at this point are not seeing their family members until they're either leaving the facility or once this whole pandemic is basically under control. Mentally, they need our help, and emotionally as well. I think the hardest thing to them is the fact that they have no form of social interaction. It's like being able to be social is basically a way of life. And unfortunately, they can no longer do it.
And how many patients do you have? Typically, how many people do you see in a day?
As CNAs, we work with about 10 to 15 patients per day. After a while, you realize that you are no longer just an employee there. You basically go in there and become more of their friends, their family. I mean, because you after a short period of time, you learn these. I mean, you learn to get to know these people personally.
How has this affected you emotionally and mentally?
I cannot be specific, but I've had a few people who, unfortunately, in this startup of the pandemic and on through, that I've become really close to. I mean, you get told when you go to school to make sure you don't get attached to any of these people, but when you're working with many of these patients for 8 hours a day to 16 hours a day, you get so attached to them. They basically, as I said, they become like family. And the biggest thing is, it's like, unfortunately, throughout this whole time, some of my patients have had COVID, and unfortunately, not all of them have made it. You get emotionally attached to your patients, and that's the biggest problem. I mean, the fact that once they go, it just becomes very difficult not to break down. Emotionally, it gets harder every time.
How do you cope then? Like, what is your way of exhale? I'm sure gym is probably one of them.
I get that question a lot. One of them, being the gym at this point. I get to work out my stress. Ironically enough, the most soothing thing that I currently do is I have a couple of drones. What I do is I'll grab my drones, walk over to the lake, and just sit down and fly around. It's so relaxing. You just sit there and kind of like let it all go. Basically how I cope with it at this point.
I want to thank you for being a part of this, man. Thank you for being so honest and transparent. Man, I so appreciate it. I knew that you being on here and being the first one on here was going to not only set the bar, but just put people at ease. When I let people know that I had COVID, right? When I finally said, you know what, I don't care, because there was a little bit of a stigma, and I was part of the people that don't want to invite you nowhere. I was like, oh, they're coming. I know they got COVID. My family's not going, you know? And now when I'm on the other side and I'm a little more educated, you know, I got so many messages from other people saying, hey, you can do it. This is what I went through. This is what's going on. This is what you got to look out for, and so on and so forth.
Everybody's like a little bit more knowledgeable nowadays about COVID. Around that time, not many people really knew about it, but it's like it took a while for people to get the full education about what the whole disease and everything was about.
And let me be really clear with this for anybody that's watching and probably doesn't want to tell anybody. Tell people. First of all, don't do this alone. It's really bad if you have to go through this and you're having symptoms and you're feeling weak. There's no reason for you to have to feel like you have to do this alone. There's so many communities that want to help you and see you through this. Don't ever feel like you're by yourself. Thank you again so much for being a part of this. Sitting in a parking lot right in front of the gym and just talking to your phone. You know what I mean? This has been a great experience. Look, listen, I'm praying for you. You go have a good workout. All right? All right, peace. Okay, so I have the privilege to welcoming our guest. Alice, you mean so much to us. There's like not enough words to tell you how much you guys mean to us. I think you know me and my wife more than anybody. I just noticed you took off your mask. I think that because, you know.
I might have to put it on if people come by. I'm sorry.
I know you, but why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I mean, I'm the best person I know. I am the coolest mom to 3 beautiful children, and I made this man the happiest man on earth. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
Amen. Amen. There's a reason why I asked you personally to be on today, and it was not only to tell your story, caught COVID, what was your experience with COVID, but you were pregnant, big pregnant. You weren't just little pregnant. You were big pregnant, like can't walk pregnant, stuck in the room pregnant, on the bed, don't move me, don't touch me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know
And nobody got to see it. Nobody.
I don't think they understand the magnitude of pregnancy that you were in.
And with my little self and a big old belly.
I'm telling you, you got these little legs, but you were experiencing symptoms that I couldn't ever fathom. And this is where I want to just hand it off and you tell us what you experienced.
So yeah, I went to like Walgreens and Walmart. Like I went out like maybe max 4 times. I remember like the beginning of April. I was just like telling Alex, I think I'm gonna get sick. I kind of like feel it. And he was like, no, you're not. You're fine. And I was like, okay, if you say so. Then I started feeling like nauseous. But you know, you're pregnant. So these are all like regular symptoms of like feeling tired and nauseous.
Because you were really nauseous when you were pregnant, right?
I felt sick, but it wasn't like, oh, I got to run to the bathroom sick kind of thing. It was kind of like, okay, I'm sick, but all right. I was really like nauseous, like tired, like beyond tired. Like I already know I was pregnant. I knew I was tired, but this was like another level kind of tired. So then I was already feeling real bad for like 2 weeks. By the third week, I didn't want to get out of bed. I was like, I think I have like the flu or something, or a cold, or I don't know. But I didn't want to eat. I didn't want to talk to. I didn't want to see nobody. Don't look at me. Don't touch me. Get away from me. Like don't talk too loud. I remember thinking, you know what? Like I don't feel good, and then I have asthma. But during my pregnancy, my asthma went away. So they told me, you know, during pregnancy, you could either get your asthma could get worse or it goes away. And so I had the good kind where it went away. Then I started to feel like I couldn't breathe. And so I'm like, oh, so what's like, I thought, oh, like my asthma is getting triggered. I grabbed a bottle of Vaporu and I sniffed it and I was like, oh, I think we got a bad batch. Because I can't smell it. And Alex was like, I can smell it all the way over here. And I was like, no, 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 no. Now, you know, I'm trying to make up excuses at this point
Hey,
because
that
I'm
was
in
me
denial.
too. I couldn't smell my soap and I was coming up with all types of excuses like, nope, I just painted a dresser. It was probably the fumes of the paint or something. Or my bar of soap is broken.
Oh no, I was like, no, I'm just congested. No, this can't be happening. I called the clinic. I told your wife, like, hey, I have to go to the clinic, but I'm not feeling good. What do I do? And she's like, well, call and tell them. She's like, because you don't want to go and get other people sick either. Called and then they ended up asking me questions. They were like, oh, can you smell? And I was like, oh, no, I can't smell. And they were like, can you taste? And I was like, can I? I was like, I don't even know. Like, I don't know. I started thinking, like, I kept telling Alex that his food wasn't tasting good. Kept telling, hey, you need to add some more salt. This has no seasoning. Poor guy was starting to doubt his cookie skills. Then they started calling me from the clinic every other day, asking me like my symptoms and how I was doing. And then I was starting to get worse and worse. And so they're like, Code, like come in and get tested. And so then I told Alex, I have to go in and get tested. You know, I'm thinking these people are crazy. I don't got nothing. Because you hear on the news that once you go to the hospital or once you get it, you're dying. So I'm like, I'm not dying. I'm fine, you know. 2 days later, they called me and they were like, yeah, you tested positive. My heart dropped. In my mind, I was like, I'm gonna die. I'm pregnant. I have a baby. It was like, no way. This is not possible. Why is this happening? You know, then I couldn't breathe. I felt like my chest was like tightening. They ended up giving me steroids to open up my airways to see if that was working, plus use my inhaler. It was 1 week of being like really bad medicine, like Tylenol, steroids. inhaler. And then I remember telling Alex, like, hey, you need to go. I need to isolate. You guys need to stay away from me. Go, go, go live in one of the kids' rooms. Go pick your roommate. You know, and I'm thinking I gotta be here by myself. And I was like crying. And he looked at me and he was like, hey, you're okay. You're gonna be okay. We're okay. And I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying here with you. And I was like, okay. And I'm just like ugly crying, like the mocos are everywhere. You know, seeing the kids like from afar, you know what it's like right now, the whole going to the bathroom, the disinfecting everything, then trying to like leave and then making sure like they're okay. And then you're guilty.
2 tubs of wipes so far. It's crazy.
Yeah, like you gotta use the bathroom and then wipe everything down. Then you gotta tell them, hey, don't forget to wipe things down, like just in case I forget. I was in bed, I couldn't get up. I was just, if it weren't for Alex that forced me to get up, I would have just laid there for days. I would sweat so much to a point that I needed to change my clothes. I feel like then after that, it was another 2 weeks of, I guess, feeling better, but it's still like little things. The breathing was still, I honestly still up to now, I still feel like my breathing is not 100% with taking medicine and stuff.
And that messed up all your plans.
Like,
There was no baby shower. There was no none of that.
no, no. Again, that's a whole nother, that's a whole nother story. It's not just the fact that you're sick, that you feel bad physically, but it gets you like mentally and emotionally. You know, you're used to being with your kids, you're used to doing things, you're used to being outgoing and social, and then you can't do none of that. And now you're not only stuck in a house, you're stuck in a room. That takes a toll on you. Yo-Yo is the type that would come in every morning and say, good morning, and hug me every morning. That was his thing. So to like all of a sudden be like, you can't come in, it was heartbreaking. You know, it was hard that my kids were missing me and I was missing them. We were scared. Alex didn't go to work. He still hasn't gone back to work, but that's a whole nother story.
I think he's only worked like 3 weeks this entire year.
It was hard.
April, May, this COVID was still kind of fresh, so there wasn't as much research as there is right now. There was enough testing as there was right now, and we still don't have a lot of answers. But can you imagine when it was first announced? Everybody was kind of like, you know. And then in the Hispanic culture, I mean, you tell them you have COVID, and they don't even want to talk to you over the phone, thinking they're going to get it through the phone. You know what I mean?
Yeah. At that time, COVID was like, oh, once you get it, you're gonna die.
Yeah.
You end up in the hospital, you're gonna die. I hadn't heard of anybody who had said like, oh, I had it, but I'm okay. I hadn't met anybody yet at that time. It was all so new. So it was like, oh my gosh, I have it. I'm gonna end up in the hospital and then I'm not gonna see the kids. I'm not gonna see Alex. So all that goes through your mind. All of it.
For the ones that don't know, baby Noah is going through his own life journey right now. He needed a new liver, and God's blessed him with a new liver, and just a whole lot of complications that had absolutely nothing to do with COVID. Had absolutely nothing to do with being pregnant with COVID. So how long have you been in the hospital now?
We've been in children since September 11.
How are you still on your feet?
God's grace. I mean, everybody that's been praying for us, because honestly, even when I was sick, I remember telling another one of our best friends that I was sick, and she had her whole church in Mexico praying for us. She was like, no, you're gonna be fine. Jesus is gonna heal you. COVID who? And you know, like the fact of knowing like, hey, people are praying for me with the help of my handsome husband over here. You know, we've gone through everything.
How has your faith evolved, getting when you first caught COVID all the way till like right now that you're in the hospital?
You can't go through this and not go through a change. you can't even explain it. It's like something that you're living that you just know it's God's grace, and you can't tell me that He ain't real. You have no idea what He's done for us. I can't really even explain it. Like, I can't explain it. It's just something inside of me that'll never be the same. It's a strength, too, a strength that I didn't even know I had. If I would have heard somebody going through this, I would have been like, oh, like I don't think I could go through that. But going through it, the you have this strength that just keeps you going. It's from prayers and God keeping us uplifted. For God, there is no impossible. One day at a time, because God is good.
This wraps up this segment. So thank you so much for joining and sharing your heart. I believe that you guys got through what you got through because you're so faithful. If you didn't believe in God, you guys have to watch this Lopez movie and it'll completely 100%. You don't even have to watch God's Not Dead. Just watch the Lopez movie and it'll completely change your perspective. So thank you so much for being on, and just keep us updated on your vlog that comes out every week.
We try.
So thank you, and you guys have a great night.
Love you, Carlos.
How are you?
I'm good. How about you?
You got COVID right now?
I have COVID right now.
Because you don't look sick to me, man. I think you're faking it. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you know, I've been doing, you know, the max I could do to keep my mind at a certain place. Even if I kind of feel sluggish, I'll push myself to, you know,
as much as your body will let you. I think you got it like I got it, because I think she had the same thing, the loss of smell and taste, but her symptoms weren't as bad as mine and Christina's, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. So it everybody hits different. Like Alex upstairs would be the second mildest. I'm actually sick again.
You caught it twice?
I don't know if I have it again, but I get sick at this time of the year every year.
Yeah.
You know, and stuff. And since COVID, my lungs have been not so strong as they used to be. So I guess last Saturday or something, I started feeling my lungs hurt right now. They hurt like rocks. So I gotta go get tested. But it could be a flu or something. It could be a second bout of it, but because there's antibodies in my system.
Yeah.
You know, so we don't know. Everybody's trying to figure it out as we go along.
And it's a season, right? Like, that's the crazy part, is that all of this is happening right around flu season, a cold, change of weather, all that stuff.
You don't know when you're gonna catch it. You don't know where, when, you know. But yeah, you're lucky you caught it now, Charlie.
When did you end up catching it?
May. I caught it Father's Day.
Oh, hey, that's a perfect gift, huh?
It was actually Father's Day that I caught the worst of it. It was like a week into it, and that day I thought I was a goner. I was holding out of the towel in the bathroom, saying, "Lord, this is it. I'm coming. You better be ready."
Hey, I'm so excited to have this guest here today. He is he's so special to me, Hector Dones. I gotta tell you that you are probably hands down one of the reasons why my family is so involved in the church. You were the voice of God. You're the reason why my mom knows the Lord. You're the reason why I do. Like, I start thinking to myself, all of the times that you knocked on our door and said, "Hey, we're going to church, let's go." And how many times did mom say no? And how many times did you pick us up, take us to youth group? And how many times were you relentless? You know, I can count on one hand how many people were relentlessly searching, relentlessly pulling our family to get to church, and you are definitely the top 5. So not only do I honor you, but I'm so excited to have you on this segment. Not a lot of people know who you are, so I want to stop talking for this moment and let everybody else know who you are.
Oh my gosh. All right. I'll do my best. Let me get my internet video look here. I'm just kidding. My name's Hector Dones. I'm 54 years old, soon to be 55 come January 1st. Thank you. Young 55. You know, I would say that, Charlie, your family, you guys are one of the greatest blessings that I could sit there and hold tight to my heart, because I seen the transformation. You know, I saw the need. God called me. You know, sometimes it's challenging to answer God's call. You know, because He takes you out of your comfort zone, and you know, if you're dealing with people that don't know the Lord or are seeking or lost or whatever way you want to look at it, even partly interested, you know, sometimes we have to just be obedient because we don't see the result of it right away. We came together and eventually bought the building, and then you guys ended up moving upstairs, and then that was the Lord's time.
I have a confession to make for you.
Uh-oh.
After 20 years, remember that the window was broken, the big window?
Yes.
And they blamed me?
No, I remember them blaming you.
I was blamed for that one. Well, it was my sister that did it. She threw a fork. She threw a fork at a cat or something, and it hit the window. So you can flip the bill to Cindy. I'm sure she, you know.
Cindy, she was a handful then too, but God bless her soul too. She's on fire too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Good.
Walk me through your COVID experience.
We pretty much knew COVID was on its way since January, you know, so I kind of knew, and I was preparing the family prior to that. But it doesn't matter how much you prepare; this thing gets in the house, forget it. You know, it's really tough. I think what happened was that I ended up catching it, and I got the fevers, the headaches, the chills, the body aches. I couldn't breathe. I mean, things that I don't even want to mention online, to be honest with you. It was really bad. So, you know, just did a lot of over-counter medications and stuff like that because that's all was available. There was only the research that we were getting from overseas, and it was pretty grim. We loaded up on cough syrups and we had albuterol pumps. We had, what else did we get? The teas. The teas really help out a lot. If you don't like tea, you'll love tea when it comes to COVID. And ultimately, it's just time and just constant prayer. I mean, I was preparing myself to go because I just didn't know where it was going to go. But I got pre-existing conditions. It felt like an elephant was sitting on my chest. So, you know, in the military, they teach us to, whenever we go off to war, we always prepare, at least for our departure in case we don't come back. So for me, it was just an exercise in practicing on what needs to be done till then. You do what you best you can. Everybody's limited in their resources and capabilities, but you know, God makes up the difference. You know, I'm certain of that. I'm certain that, you know, as long as He sees you obedient, moving in a certain direction, not in fear, because this, you know, this is not a thing of, you know, as long as you're secure in the Lord, the fear kind of sets aside, you know, and then you start to just be able to manage. Well, what can I do? What do you want me to do, Lord? And you know, I did what best I could. I prepared a room downstairs and, you know, made it like a little ICU room, had all the medications there. I said, if anybody gets sick, we'll isolate them here. We did what we could. But like I said, even with all of that, it still got in. But yeah, it was tough when it did get in, but luckily only lasted like 2 weeks. The first week, it built up till the immune system kicked in. Now, once the immune system kicks in, you'll know because you're really getting sick. Your body's fighting it, and that's where it gets kind of critical. One thing I will say that if you're at home alone, you need to seek friends, you need to seek neighbors or family members that can help, especially if you have kids around the house. Not a time of criticism or fear, but a real sense of empathy, because empathy is going to carry us through COVID. It makes it difficult to go see family and friends right now. It really does, because you don't want anybody to get sick. I feel bad for all these people losing family members. It's devastating to hear. It's just devastating. You know, once God gets in your system, it's hard to get him out. You know what I'm saying? Who wants to get him out? You want to invite more in. Even especially during the times of distress and you know, there's no better source. They're just, listen, I've had prayers answered in minutes. I've had prayers answered in years, but I've always had prayers answered one way or the other. Yes, no, whatever the case may be, and always been satisfied that the Lord has always answered those things. So it's hard to kind of let go of a relationship that you don't have. But for someone who doesn't have that, one of the things that I guess would bridge me closer to the Lord is just inaction and just waiting for a response and then believing the response when you get it. Because, you know, there's always that challenge of, did God really say that? Was that really God? You know, believe it. And the more it happens, the more you'll see that He's ever so present in your life. And that's the best advice I can give at this moment. It's a serious pandemic. If there's people dying all around the world, so you have to give them their space, because everybody has to come to that point. For those people who are struggling right now, know that people are praying for you. People are praying for you fervently. When I was sick, I had the prayer warriors called out, and I know people were praying for me, people online monitoring. So there's people praying for you. And prayer is powerful. It can not only transform lives, but it can determine the future. It can change a history. It can change a bad situation to something glorious for His glory, and to put you in a position where you can enjoy the fruit of His goodness. It's tough, and for those who may not make it, my suggestion is get deeper into knowing the Lord. Pray, and even if it's your first time praying, you're on your deathbed, remember, all you have to do is reach out and say, Lord, I'm ready, and I want you in my life, and I need you at this moment in time. And if He takes you, just be assured that He heard your prayer. God forgives, and He's merciful. And sometimes when people lose family members, we don't know why He took the family member. But you can be certain that God is going to take care of those family members too. So to those family members that are losing family members, again, I'm so sorry for their loss. But don't lose hope, because hope never disappoints. And that's the fact.
Wow. That's exactly where I want to leave it. I love the part where you say you're not in this alone. I'm a huge believer in this. When I first caught it and I talked to someone else about it, I thought to myself, I'm not going to tell anybody because I don't know how they're going to react to it. I don't want to be that guy that, everybody kind of pushes away, like if I have leprosy. But it was actually, it was contrary, where so many people were like, we're praying for you. We're here for you. What do you need? Are you okay? Do you need anything where you want to pray for you? We want to help. And, part of me stubborn is like, I got this, and another part of me humbly saying, yeah, we do need your prayer. We do need words of encouragement, because, we just don't know where we are. You're not alone in this. And reach out to as many people as you can. Let them know, because, man, they love you. We love you. And we're praying for you guys. And we're here for you. So thank you so much for being a part of this project. And this is where we leave you guys.
Bye, Charlie.
Bye, Charlie.
Bye-bye.
God bless you all.
Thank you.